least got a smile on a couple of people.
All right, here we go.
Good afternoon. This is the third day of the legislative session, and welcome to our press availability and public access. We welcome especially those who are watching us over the internet. We invite you to text in or through our other means, send in your questions so that we'd be happy to address those. And I'll just go ahead and open it up to questions from the media.
So what would you like to hear from the governor in the state of the state?
Well, I think the things he's going to talk about are some of the things that we're concerned with, and that's long-term infrastructure issues for the state of Utah, education, transportation, water, how are we going to deal with a doubling of the population along the Wasatch Front and in the state over the next 30 years. Can you imagine doubling the population here and what that's going to be like? I think we need to be visionary. I think we need to be proactive and deal with those things incrementally so we don't have to deal them with a crisis. I believe that I hope to hear some of those things from the governor, and I believe that he'll probably address those, maybe not in those exact words, but I know he is concerned about the water infrastructure and education infrastructure in this state. Senator Adams, anything that...
Yeah, I think all those things. Obviously, education is over 50% of our budget, and that'll be always talked about. Utah's kind of unique situation. We've got I think 8 out of the last 12 months we were rated #1 as far as economic growth. So year over year, we're on the top of the heap, which is really very hard to do. There's a lot of great states out there that have great economic development. We've got unemployment below around 3%. That is a real positive thing. We've seen really difficult economic times, but with that economic growth, there are all the things the president talked about, and dealing with growth is something that we can do. We can do it well. We just need to make sure that we're proactive, and I think the governor will probably address that.
We passed a bill today onto the third reading calendar. It's probably the most controversial bill of the session, Senate Bill 19, phased retirement. Senator Weiler was the sponsor of that bill, which would modify our retirement system and give employers who are under the Utah retirement system the option to take retired employees who would want to work part-time. They would have to work half-time at half the pay, and they would actually then also receive half the retirement at that same time. So it's another option for our employers. And we had a lot of questions about that in the Senate. And today we passed over a third reading calendar. Senator Weiler did a good job in answering those questions, and we've heard from URS, and we think that's a good option for the employers who are in our retirement system to have that option.
Any developments out of caucus yesterday on SB 54 issues? Come to an agreement on what to do or what not to do here?
Senator Okerlund, I didn't. We talked about the different issues, but I don't think there's a lot of appetite to address any of them this session.
Didn't really go far in caucus because we're waiting to see what happens with the lawsuit. There are a lot of questions there, what a judge may do, and so anything that we talk about at this point almost becomes speculative until we know what happens there, and so the discussion just isn't going to go anywhere. There's some discussion about how things are going now with signature gathering process, and some of the folks that are involved in that, and some frustration, some education that's going on there to how to deal with current law, but not a lot of discussion. No votes, no positions, no motions, nothing on it.
Is the House in the same position as, I know you talked a little bit about it at your management meeting the other day, or leadership meeting. Is the House thinking the same way on that?
Well, I believe we're close to the same, or on the same page nearly. We're wanting to get some more information about the legalities of the lawsuit. There's some things we just don't understand, and so we're trying to discover those things over the next few days. But I don't think it changes. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it changes that we probably won't do anything during this session with SB 54. And collecting signatures, we have a number of our senators who are collecting signatures. Some are finished. Senator Hilliard is right in the middle of it. Senator Hilliard, you want to make any comments on it?
It's an interesting experience because we're doing it all by volunteer. We're not paying people to go out and get signatures. And the report back to me is that it's really fairly simple to get the signatures. The problem is you have to take 30 minutes to explain to people what you're doing and why you need signatures this year. And once they understand, we're getting the signatures. But 2,000 is a lot of signatures with volunteers coming in. And so we had hoped to have it done before the session started. We're well over 50% in my area. But it still has some more work to do, and I'll find out Saturday when I get home what's been done by my volunteers while I was gone.
The Lieutenant Governor's office last week issued kind of a memo on the law, and they intend to follow the law and kind of advise candidates to use both paths to get on the primary election ballot. In your mind, is the law clear enough as it stands, or does it need to be tweaked? Even if you don't get to it this session, is there some changes that need to be made to it, or is it
I think
clear?
there's some changes that need to be made, and I think we'll address those, before the next election. But because of the lawsuit and some of the politics that are going on regarding this new process, and the fact that addressing these issues, there's no consensus on most of them, so it's probably not prime time for us to make any changes.
When you say you're probably not going to do anything about it this year, does that mean, at least the hope is, your committees don't spend time debating the bills out there that would make changes to the law right now? Because you have a limited number of times, and I'm not saying that you're ordering them to not do that, but is the hope that they will not spend time considering these bills that you said there's not a lot of appetite?
No, I mean, that's, I guess, part of it. It's just, there's enough differences of opinion on some of those issues. And I don't know if anybody that's even opened up a bill file, at least in the Senate. Maybe we'll have some bill files from the House, but I'm not aware of anything in the Senate. And the discussions we're having is that there's really not a lot of appetite to address those issues, or urgency to address those issues.
You have some legal issues, and the legal issue is the system started on January 4th. Now, if we change the system, can we? And if so, how? And if we do change it, do you get 2/3 votes, so it takes immediate effect, or will it not take effect until in May? That's a normal effective date. So it almost gets to the point that you don't know what you can do.
Yeah. We'd have to have 2/3 vote.
Yeah.
And we're right in the middle of it. And so we're going to change the game? Yeah, those are the difficulties with SB 54 at this point. So,
like I said, my approach, I'm planning the caucus also. I'm going to do it both ways. And there's probably people who would look at that and say, well, I would do the petition if there were less names. But now, if we change that rule, it may make it too late for them to get involved. So it's not only public policy issues, there's also legal issues of what you really can do.
anything from our internet viewers?
No, not yet.
Okay. Any other questions from media? Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Question for you.